Hey guys, this is Blue. Today I'm going to show you a continuation of our previous one of just the basic setup, and we're going to extend it to set a few of the things that you need to set to help with performance and to make your life easier while developing in VR in UE4. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to go up here to blueprints at the top, and I'm going to open the level blueprint. If you're not that familiar with the level blueprint, it basically is just an overarching blueprint for the entire level. That's really all I can say. So I don't know why I was going into such a deep explanation. Anyway, the first thing I want to do is set up the ability to reset the tracker for tracker position for the HMD. So when you're using the DK2 and its positional tracking of your person, you have a reference point and then it tracks your movements in regards to that reference point. But sometimes you move your chair or things just aren't positioned right and they just don't feel right. And you can position yourself where you want to consider that reference position and then press a key and you'll automatically snap to that reference position, and then every movement from now on will be in reference to that location. So it's really helpful if you move your chair or really just a lot of things. If something just doesn't feel right, you can just reset your reference position. So basically what we're going to do here is we're just going to link this to F12. It seems to be fairly common. So I'm going to right click here in the event graph and I'm going to type in F12, hit enter. And there's already a function set up for this. So if you just drag a wire out and you type in reset orientation and position, click on that. And that's pretty much it. It already defaults the yaw to 000, which is where we want it. I don't really think you'd want to do too much with this unless you're doing something fancy to reset it on a slower basis. But anyway, so let's go ahead and select everything and do Control C. And we'll comment that we are resetting the HMD reference point. And that's it. So the next thing we're going to do is we're going to set up a toggle for the mirroring of what is on the HMD. Now, it's really nice to be able to see what the person's seeing or kind of the VR view, even if you're not wearing the headset. And so mirroring is really nice, but sometimes, it does have a performance hit. So it's nice to be able to turn it on and off at runtime. So we're going to go ahead and set up a toggle for that. So we need a variable. So we're going to go up here to the variables and we'll call this is HMD mirroring on. And if we go ahead and click compile, we can go ahead and set this toggle to true if you want. And we'll go ahead and drag this out, click get. And we'll also need an event for this. I'm going to go ahead and set this one to F11. You don't want to overload the F keys. Unreal uses a few, and then your events won't actually get registered on some of those, particularly the lower keys. I think F1 through about F6. So don't do too many, but F12 and F11 definitely work. So and they seem pretty common, so I'm going to go ahead and use them. So we'll drag out a wire from pressed here, and we'll make a branch. And we're going to pipe in the is HMD mirroring Boolean, but we actually want to negate it. So we're going to go type not, and we'll select this not Boolean, and then pipe it into the branch. So now, based on the value of that, the inverse value, we're going to execute a command. So there is an execute console command function that basically anything you could execute with the tilde, which brings up the command viewer in the UE runtime, at least for the debug runtime, you can run via one of these execute console commands. So we're just going to type in the command here, and the one for this is HMD space mirror on. So that will turn mirroring on. And then when we're done, we want to go ahead and set our value, our HMD mirroring value, to true. So we're going to do set is HMD mirroring on, and then we'll check this to make sure that it's true. Now basically we need both of these again for the other case, and then we'll connect false here, and we'll change on to off, and then we will also change this variable to false there. So now I'm going to select all this, that's all we need here, and I'm going to call it toggle for HMD mirroring. All right, now another fun one that is kind of helpful, but it's a bit of a stretch. I think it's more just for fun, is low persistence. So I don't want to get into too much of what low persistence is, but basically it's an easy way to fix blurring when you move the screen around. So we're going to create another event. I'm going to use the insert key. Why? I don't know. I just felt like choosing the insert key. And we're going to go over here, and there's already a function in the Oculus plugin for this. So we're going to do enable low persistence mode. And then there's also a function to check if low persistence mode is enabled. So let's just search for low, and we actually have it right up here. And so we can choose this is in low persistence mode. And then the return value, we will just pipe again to a not Boolean. So we're inverting that value, and we'll just hook it in right there, and that's it. So this can be helpful to know if it's enabled or not, so you can just kind of toggle it, and if you see a significant change, low persistence mode is working. Generally, when you turn low persistence mode off, things are going to get brighter when it's off, and darker when low persistence mode is on. So it's an easy way to tell if it's working or not working. So anyway, so that's pretty much it for these commands. We'll take a look at them here in just a second, but let's go ahead and add a few other commands that I think you'll find handy. So we've got a few runtime performance commands that will help you enable performance changes to kind of get the frame rate you want at runtime. But we also have some that don't work at runtime, and those are the ones I'm going to handle first. So we're going to set those when the game starts. So we need an event begin play node. So right click and do event begin play. And again, we're going to bracket this out and do a execute console command. So the first one I want to run is stereo on. Now this will take us directly into VR mode. This could be really handy. Sometimes you're going to want this. Sometimes you might not. There are a lot of times when you're doing something that really isn't specific to VR. You just want to test it. So if you're doing those, a lot of times I'll just kind of reroute around this chain and then reconnect it back up. I mean, you could make a toggle, but really it takes a while to get in and out of VR mode. So I don't know if a toggle is really that helpful. But you could certainly do it, and you'd follow just the same process we did here for toggle HMD mirroring. So the next command is stat FPS. Well, it might help if I actually typed, let's go ahead and grab another one of these execute console commands, excuse me. And we will type, the command we're going to run is stat FPS. Now I think this is the most important command of all of them, because if you don't want to make people sick and you want to have a good experience in VR, you have to hit the frame rate of the native frame rate of the display and the top frame rate for that. And for the DK2, that's 75 FPS. You just have to do it. So you need to be monitoring your FPS at all times, unless you're just doing something where you want something aesthetic. But for the absolute majority of the time, you want to just keep this on. Now you can make your own if you don't like the way this one looks. I think it looks fine. Make it kind of more natural in the environment. That would be fine. But you should always be monitoring your FPS. And in fact, you should probably write a logger to alert you when you even drop one frame below 75 FPS, because you need to know, and it's that critical in VR development. So the next one is one that's going to create a huge difference in performance. And again, I'm forgetting to create another console command here. Let's go ahead and pipe it in the line. But this one is really a big performance effector, and that's going to be HMD SP, and then I'm going to type the number 100. So basically this is handling super sampling. So the engine's actually drawing the scene much larger and then scaling it down, and it really makes things look very nice. But unfortunately, it's incredibly intensive. So 100 is 100%, so that's actually not doing any of it. Now you can actually go below 100, and you can go all the way up to 200. I don't recommend going below 100 unless you just really want to test something out and you just can't hit the frame rates that you want. But you could probably go up above 100 if you can afford it, and it'll actually really increase your quality. Now some people will actually pipe in here HMD mirroring off. I'd rather just have the toggle. It's pretty quick to turn that on and off. It's almost instant, so I'm not going to do that. But some people also like to set full screen, and the whole command is just full screen. I don't really think that's very useful. You'd probably want to put it before this command, because this command can do some funny things. But anyway, so this is pretty much it. This is just going to be our commands for startup performance. It's probably not a good name, but because only one of them's really for performance. But anyway, that's what we'll call it. So remember, play with this number. If you're having some performance issues, you could start with 100, or you could start with something slightly higher, like 120 or 130. But I wouldn't go much higher than that unless you've got a really, really nice setup. So basically, we've got these commands and a few of these toggles. So let's go ahead and check those out before we move on. So we'll go ahead and click play. And as you can see, we're going straight into VR mode. So we can look around and everything seems fine. Might have a little bit better performance than before, but we're hitting a pretty constant 75 FPS, so that's not an issue. You guys can't really tell low persistence when it's toggled on and off, because it's something you only see on the DK2. But I can tell you it's working. I've now toggled off HMD mirroring. So I'm toggling that on and off. You can kind of see it stopping. It's pretty easy. It's working really well. So the only other thing is resetting the positional tracking. So I'm going to move off to the far right, and I'm going to hit F12. And as you can see, we kind of moved pretty far off from our character. Well, now he's centered, but if we move a little bit more, it's okay. So it's not too bad. So a lot of times you'll move off your character, but anyway, I'm not actually doing that. I'm resetting it perfectly every time. But anyway, so this is working, and it's what we expected it to do. So great. Let's move on. All right, so now the next thing we're going to do is create a really big set of values. We're going to create a whole series of runtime performance settings that'll help you increase your performance if you need to at the expense of quality. So basically I'm going to map them to 7, 8, 9, and 0. They're pretty much going to be all the same. We're just going to copy and paste them and change one number. Now you could set this in a menu, but I feel like it's a lot easier just to have a keyboard command to map them. Obviously a menu in-game would give you higher fidelity of tracking the commands, but anyway. So I'm going to go ahead and right click and press 7 to create a key input for 7, and I'm going to again execute a console command if I can learn to type. Now the big list of commands is going to be a little bit time consuming to watch me type them in, but I'll try to be fairly quick. So they all start with SG dot, and then this first one is view distance quality, and we're going to set that to 1. Now all these settings, I just have some that work pretty well for me. This first one, 7, is going to be the lowest quality I recommend setting it to, and then obviously 0 is going to actually be the full range of the values. So play with them, see what works best for your machine, but they really can help you while debugging and trying to hit good performance numbers if you just want to look at something and you don't want to go back and change it and optimize and optimize and optimize just to look at something. So anyway, we'll go ahead and copy this guy again, and the next one, we'll go ahead and pipe it in. And the next one's going to be anti-aliasing quality, so we'll go ahead and select this here, anti-aliasing quality. And this one I actually recommend setting at 2. I think it just honestly looks too bad not to set it at 2. The next one's going to be post-processing quality. Now this can actually make a fairly significant dent depending on which settings you have for post-processing, but so it's one to keep your eye on. Right. So we'll go ahead and create another one, and this one will be shadow quality. And it's also at 1, and pipe the next one in, which is texture quality. And it's also at 1. Pretty much they're all at 1 except anti-aliasing on this one. And the last one's going to be effects quality. Now you got to be kind of careful typing these in, because if you don't type them in wrong, it doesn't really tell you anything. So, so this is pretty much our little graph. So what we're going to do is we're going to copy and paste this 4 times. Whoa. Now I'd also recommend saving quite a bit. Seem to be having a lot of trouble with UE 4.5 crashing on me, and it really likes to do it here with these. I don't know if it's because we have so many. It certainly didn't seem to be an issue in previous versions, so make sure and save quite a bit. So now we'll go ahead and change all these numbers. You can actually delete them if you want, but you can also just go over here and click that and type in 8. And then you can go here and click that and type in 9, click it, and we'll set the last one here to 0. So now I don't want to bore you with these, but I'll go ahead and set them as fast as we can. So view distance quality for the second one is going to be 2. Anti-aliasing quality is going to be 3. Post-processing quality will keep it 1. Shadow quality will also keep it 1. Texture quality also 1, but effects quality will change that one to 2. And so the next one, we're going to set the view distance quality to 2 again. Whoa. Anti-aliasing quality to 4. Post-processing quality, we'll set this one to 2 this time. And really, you got to just kind of fiddle with these yourself. I mean, it really huge difference on a lot of machines. You could probably run a script to, check what frame rates people get on a demo scene to kind of determine these easily. But that's kind of end-level quality polish, I think. I think for now, this is a nice, easy way to do it at runtime and see a direct performance hit as you toggle them. So the last ones are going to be pretty much the maxed out values. You can't really go any higher than this, but we're going to set view distance quality to 3, anti-aliasing quality all the way up to 6, post-processing to 3. Pretty much everything is 3 all out. So 3, and 3. All right, so we'll go ahead and save. And let's make a comment. Call it runtime performance. Oof, can't type. Runtime performance settings. Go ahead and hit compile. And we'll click play. All right, so again, we went straight in. Now, for this, it's kind of difficult. I'm going to go ahead and look down at my shadow because this is one area where you can really tell. It's kind of hard since we don't have any textures. A lot of the settings you aren't going to really notice until you have those, or effects, and obviously you won't notice those because we don't have them. But you can see when I toggle it, it looks pretty horrible, and I kind of go through all of them. It gets a little better each time. But basically, that's what's going on. You'll notice a big performance difference when you have textures and you have effects. So anyway, we've got one last set of things to do, and no more blueprint settings. So we'll go over at our map. We'll go ahead and save. But the last thing is just some project-wide settings. So these are kind of important. Basically, we're going to go to Edit Project Settings, and we'll go to Rendering. We'll scroll all the way down to Default Processing Settings and Anti-Aliasing Method. Now, this will be set automatically for you depending on, I don't know exactly because it seems to change each release. But whatever it is, if you're doing VR, you don't want temporal anti-aliasing. It'll cause your characters and things to shake like mad. And if you do see that, this is probably your culprit. So go ahead and hit FXAA, or you could turn it to off. I don't recommend off because you need anti-aliasing. I'd also recommend here in your post-processing settings to turn off bloom. Now you can turn on or off lens flares depending on how you feel about them. Just see if you like them. If you do, keep them. Now when you create a thing called a post-processing volume, you can overwrite these values. So make sure that you set them to these if you create a post-processing volume. The other thing that we're going to do is go to General Settings and scroll all the way down to Frame Rate. And this button for Smooth Frame Rate, you don't want that. So let's uncheck that. I apparently checked it again. Uncheck that. And then down here on Minimum Desired Frame Rate, you're going to want to set it at 75 FPS because we don't want anything below 75 FPS because the Rift, we don't want the engine to even try to go below that. So, and the Rift only supports, well, it certainly supports lower resolutions, but 75 is the one that activates low persistence, and really you need to hit 75 FPS or people are going to get sick. So that's really it. So now you could run this, but there's nothing really to see other than the temporal anti-aliasing. And all right, well, that's it for now. We'll have more videos. Have a good day.